Hello, 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 everybody, and welcome, welcome, welcome to the Mary D Talk Show. It is so nice to see you guys on another, what do I always say? You guys know, beautiful Monday. And it is. Another beautiful day. I know you guys think, oh, she's just saying that. No, they really are. Every Monday is just gorgeous. So, and then I haven't used the tagline in so long, but those of you that know the tagline is those who know watch the Mary D Talk Show. So that is the tagline. And that was actually our children made that up. They're not children, they're grown-ups, they're adults, but they're the ones that came up with the tagline. So just so you know, I like to first, before get going first, say thank you to our executive producer, and that is my husband, the number one supporter of the Mary D Talk Show. Hi, babe. That's Oliver. And I tell you, people think Oliver is a ghost. Oliver is not a ghost. Oliver really exists. So just so you know, we also have for the supporters for the show. Oh, before I get into supporters, I want to thank you, our audience. I said studio audience, whether you're live or you're watching on the replay. Thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you for coming to the show. I'm excited because the show is because of you. Let me just tell you why you are so important audience. The only reason this show has been growing is because of you. You have been telling your friends, you have been telling your workers, your co-workers. If you can't see it live, watch the replay. You have been the ones going to YouTube and subscribing to the show. Otherwise, it couldn't grow. If I could subscribe 50 times, you know what YouTube's going to say? No, you can only subscribe once. But you have done it. So, from the bottom of my heart, thank you. Those of you that are on the text, you received the text probably about maybe an hour ago. And it said on there, you are so special to me. Just know that you really, really are, each and every one of you. I can never thank you enough. So, thank you for all that you do to support the show, for all that you do to support the books that are written. Um, Thank you. I mean that. Thank you. And now, get back to the show. We have our sponsors for the show. Our sponsor, who's been here since day one of the show, is the Idea Club. And the Idea Club president is Dumas Martin Jr. And the way you if you're looking to have a 501c3, if you're looking to have an S Corp, a C Corp, or you're looking to have a corporation, an LLC, all of those things, go online to theideaclub.com, and you can actually leave and go right there to the webpage for Dumas Martin Jr. As he's the president, but you can go there and you can get all that done right there from the Idea Club. Also, for those of you that are looking, if you're writing a book, it's First Book Academy. If you're publishing a book, you already have a manuscript and you want to publish it, that's Front Page Publishing. So Front Page Publishing or First Book Academy, right there on the internet. Can't miss them. In addition to that, the nonprofit that we support is called Main Ambition. Those of you interested in saving. Now, many of you know I was a teacher for over 30 years, and I taught high school. The one thing I noticed about high school students, they dropped out mentally long before they ever dropped out physically. And the key is if you can catch them, and instead of them dropping out, just have them cross that finish line to graduation. Now they have a chance of getting a state job, a federal job, a city job. Any of those jobs are open to them, but you must first be a high school graduate. That's what Main Ambition does, gets them across that finish line to become high school graduates. So if you like to donate to that nonprofit, which is mainambition.org, mainambition.org, it is a 501c3, so your donation is 100% tax deductible. You can donate to that nonprofit. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to introduce you to our special guest for today. And I'm really excited. This gentleman, I will read you just a little bit of his bio because he's done so many wonderful things, but I just want to give you just a little bit of information about him. He is a servant leader. He's a social entrepreneur, an twice Amazon #1 best-selling author. He's a certified hypnotist. Bert is someone who believes that entrepreneurship can be a vehicle of social change. He grew up in a household of entrepreneurs. His dad was a general contractor and a real estate appraiser and inspector. His mom had her own daycare for many years. His father taught him that entrepreneurship is a pathway to controlling your own future and making a difference in the world. As a young person, Bert developed his entrepreneurial muscles as a paperboy in junior high school. He learned the power of creating his own personal economy and loved the feeling of creating a paycheck at will. Bert's drive to be a change agent came from watching his dad start a neighborhood watch program on his block when he lived in Los Angeles. The goal was to help create a safe space for the neighbors and kids, especially his own, from the criminal element that often was present on the street. I'm gonna keep going because I just really enjoy this. Bert honors his father's legacy through his ongoing community service as a member of Omega Psi Phi Fraternity Incorporated, serving as on the board of directors for the University of California Riverside Alumni Association, and as a member of the University of California Riverside Chancellor's Advisory Committee. Bert has worked in corporate America, helping over 20 business owners, helping generate over 100 million in over 7 years. Bert has co-generated over 7 million with a global volunteer sales force. He's wrote the sales training manual for a major influencer. He is skilled at negotiating speaking contracts worth multiple six figures. He has a bachelor's degree in liberal arts and master's of science in organizational leadership. After spending over a decade as a W-2 employee, he made the leap to entrepreneurship. Bert can attest that it is harder than it looks and loves the journey at the same time. It's been a place for tremendous personal and professional growth. He loves to share his lessons with anyone that is willing to listen. He is married to a beautiful wife and they live in Riverside, California. Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to introduce to you our special speaker for today, special guest for today. Bert, are you there?
I'm here.
Welcome, welcome, welcome to the show, Bert. I was reading. I'm gonna be honest. The only reason I stopped, I could not pronounce your wife's name.
No problem. You're not the first one.
Okay. Now, how do you pronounce it?
You pronounce it exkizin, so
Okay.
it's phonetic exkizin. So
Yeah.
pronounce every syllable, and you'll get it in pretty good.
I
So
looked at it. I said, "Don't even try it, Mary." Well, we'd like to welcome you to the show, and it's always nice to see you. I know we saw each other about what 10 days ago at
no
the
problem. But yeah, maybe 10, 15 days ago, somewhere around there. Yeah.
but it's always a pleasure and welcome to. I'm glad that you got a chance to make it. I know your schedule's busy.
It's been a little hectic the past few weeks. I've been on the road traveling for different conferences, supporting other entrepreneurs as well. So to your point, I'm always out there trying to be a beacon of change or a beacon of a possibility for others as well.
Yeah.
So I'm glad to get to be home finally for a few days, and so I'm not looking for it. I'm okay. I'm enjoying it now.
Good. I know when I saw the six-figure contracts for speakers. I'm sitting here. I said, why haven't I been talking to Bert? I need to be talking. I need to be talking to Bert
Right.
because it's big.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, that's a big deal for
Well,
sure.
it's an art and a science, right? So at the end of the day, it's about how do you negotiate contracts that are a win-win for everybody, right? Whether it's for you personally and for the client that you're serving. So when it comes to negotiating, it's come with an open heart, a service heart, and come to the table and say, hey, I want to have how can I best support your needs? Make sure that your needs are served at the same time. So it's sometimes not always about the money or the dollar value for what you get when you have a keynote opportunity. Sometimes often about how do you best serve the client. So that's so yeah, we can talk about that or whatever comes up for you, Mary. But first I want to say thank you, Mary, for this opportunity for doing your show. Thank your audience for being willing to receive me today on this beautiful Monday afternoon. Like I said, it's a beautiful Monday here in August. I'm a little partial to the month of August because it's my birthday month as well. So I am Team Leo, and so I'll be celebrating a birthday here in a few days, and so I'm excited, for the another feather in my cap for my birthday month.
Yes. Well, happy birthday. When is it? August the what?
August 18th, so in a few days here.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, right around the corner. All
Right,
right.
right.
Do you have any big plans?
Mm, not currently, but my wife had made some plans for me, so she just told me just to get dressed and show up. So I'm a very dutiful husband, so I'm gonna follow directions, and where she tells me to be is where I'm going to be. So we'll see what happens.
I love it. Well, I guess is this a milestone birthday? Like it's not one of those, is it?
Well, not a milestone in a major. I was like a pre-Eve milestone, right? So this is the last year of my 40s coming up. So this particular year that turns. So some call it the fourth floor or the fourth chapter. You know what I'm saying? So this birthday will be the last year of my 40s, and next year will be the big one. So I'm excited, grateful to make it this far, and still be my sound mind and body. It's definitely something to be grateful for.
Well, I agree with that. You do not look like you're in your 40s. I'm telling you right now. So like you said, you're dawning on and going into the 50s. This is what I say every single day. I'm at I don't go by. Right. The years I'm happy, but I mean the day, just every day is a blessing.
Right.
It's a blessing. So,
well,
I know too. I was reading as I was going through your bio. There's a couple that I was I mentioned to you before the show. The one that struck out to me was the Hypnotist.
Yes.
What is that about, Bert?
So the hypnotist came about 3 years ago. A colleague of mine who trained certified hypnotist was hosting a training. And one of the reasons I found hypnotism fascinating is because, I have a sales background, come from a sales background, been in the financial services retirement industry for about 10 years. So I understand that oftentimes sales is about mindset and about how you navigate a conversation to help somebody do what's best for them, right? Best for them and best for you as well, right? So I understand a lot of the NLP, the neuro-linguistic programming and the science of the thought process when it comes to sales. Hypnotism was just another level of digging deeper into how the mind works. And I'm saying like our mind is such a fascinating piece of equipment that God gave to us, right? We can almost manifest anything with our minds. How as you think it is so as you are, right? And so when the opportunity came up for me to get certified as a hypnotist, I jumped at it. I was like, yeah, I want to learn the deeper inner workings of my subconscious, my conscious, how do I reprogram the software. So that's kind of how it started.
I think, and like you said about manifesting,
I
can't even tell. It's so many things in my life that, without a doubt, came with a thought. That's a thought, and then writing it down and the picture. All of this is real. I know people may say, "Well, no, it doesn't happen for me." I could just say, "Well, it's happened for me." That's all I can go by. So it tells you that the power of it is just phenomenal. And I know Oliver's watching, so I'm gonna say this. I actually said this before. I never knew Oliver. I was dating, I was widowed and wanted to meet someone. And I said, well, Lord, how will I know that this will be the man for me? I said, and then I said, this is what I said. I said, okay, this is how I know you sent him, Lord. Mm-hmm. It'll be a black man that speaks Spanish. I am not kidding. Oliver I don't even know if you knew that, Oliver. You may not have. I don't know. That is the truth. I actually said that. And my husband's fluent. Speak and write Spanish, but I didn't know that. Think about this. I didn't know that we were dating. I remember him saying, this was a while. And he said, and I said, say something in Spanish. Because I didn't believe it. I said, this cannot be. And he's fluent. He's Panamanian. He's born in Panama. And that's, I just, even now, I'm in awe of that. But that was my fleece moment of, I needed to know, how would I know that this is the right man for me? And that was the way I wanted to. And I actually was almost like putting God to a test. I had to.
Right. Yeah. But Mary, it's interesting you're talking about manifestation, right? We manifest every single day, whether we realize it or not. Sometimes we do it consciously, but more often we do it subconsciously, right? To your point, when you talk about how some people may not believe that you say you can manifest what you want at will. What they don't realize is that the fact that they say those words means that they're manifesting a reality they don't really want at will. You know what I'm saying? So we're going to manifest what we desire, and we're going to manifest what we don't want at the same time. So it's always working. Just we may not always be aware of it. So that's sometimes I think a very interesting point to make for your listeners and your viewers is that think about what you're thinking about will often manifest to the world you want to create for yourselves.
And this is a saying. I don't know where I don't know if I made it up or I can't tell you. But anyway, I've been saying for years that whatever you are seeking is seeking you.
Correct.
Whatever you are seeking in this world is seeking you. Whether it's a car seeking you, whether it's a house seeking, it's seeking you too. Right. It's like that energy is pulling you in the same direction. At least I think it is in the same direction.
Right. Yeah.
So yeah, I'm a strong believer. Right. For sure. But I know too, I was reading your bio, it said that you work with a volunteer. It's a volunteer workforce.
So one of my previous career paths, I used to work for a major, I would say, influencer as well. And she was in the process of developing a sales team that were all volunteers. They were former students of hers. I was one of her former students as well. And so what I learned in that process is, well, before I say that, I've had years and not decades of working in the volunteer space in different capacities, just here and there, whether it's church, whether it's volunteer organizations, whether it's from our fraternities I mentioned as well. So I understand that when you work with volunteers, oftentimes there's a different type of leadership principle you learn. You know what I'm saying? I love what John Maxwell says in his books. He says, if you really want to know how to become a great leader, learn how to lead volunteers, because the volunteers have no vested interest to stay with you or follow you as well, right? You know what I'm saying? So I when I had the opportunity to develop and create and kind of form this volunteer sales team, I learned a lot about myself as a leader, because I would learn leading leaders, these individuals that are running major organizations, that are running their own businesses. Oftentimes they were high level executives in their own organizations as well. And so, but what they wanted was opportunity to kind of learn and grow and provide some insights on how to grow themselves individually, professionally, and in the sales world, right? And so so I did have that experience. I'm very grateful for that experience. I did it for about 3 years, 3 years plus, and I can tell you, it's by far one of my greatest honors and accomplishments in my life to be able to lead a phenomenal global sales team. At the height, we had about 35 people on a team. They ranged everywhere from parts of Dubai to South Africa to Europe and parts of the United States, Australia, and everything between. And so, I was the trainer / leader of the band.
But it was that I would think, like you said, this is an international. This is not just a everyday team. This is more. I mean, when you think about, because aren't you also going through having language, or no? It wasn't language problems, or
well, most of them spoke English or had a decent working knowledge of English. So it just meant I had to understand how to navigate. So here in America, oftentimes we have certain idioms or slangs, or catchphrases we may use with our, right? So I have to be mindful that if I was use it in a training or use it in a conversation, I have to be aware that how I may use a slang may not translate the same way, right? And so I have to learn that. But other than that, most of them had a working knowledge of English, because the influencer taught in English. So they had to have some understanding of English in many ways, right? And so with that, that the language barrier was a big issue. The biggest thing was the time difference, the time zone difference, right? Because obviously, depending where they are in the world, depends on the time frame, the timing of our trainings or the timing of when we got together as well there too. So you think about if someone's in Australia right now, it's evening times for them, right? But depending with somebody who's in Europe, I can't have an afternoon call because it's late evening for them. So sometimes I have calls at 8 o'clock in the morning. Sometimes I have calls at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, trying to accommodate all these different nuances. But in that, I learned the power of how do you build camaraderie in a virtual space, because we have some people from across the world, right? How do you stay connected? How do you build a team environment, which is very important, and specifically talking about how to build a sales team that's out there having sales conversations and impacting people's lives.
I'm just sitting here listening, going, when, like you said, when you're working with volunteers, they have to believe in the vision of that organization, or they're not going to stay there. That's
right.
To keep them at. But if they believe in the vision, the just their synergy is so powerful.
Yep.
It is just, and like you said, there's no financial reward. It's just the reward of being. Well, now I know people call it tribes.
Right. Yep.
We're in different tribes. That's been a catchword I've been hearing lately. And so we do have 2 comments here. I want to make sure I get those. And Charles says, "Good afternoon, Mary and Bert. Happy birthday, fellow Leo."
Yes.
All right, Charles. So you're a Leo too. When's your birthday, Charles? You can go ahead and put it in there. And then we have Gwen. Hi, Gwen. And she says, hi. She said, hello, Mary and Bert. And this is one of my cousins from the Bay Area.
Oh, hi.
So
I want to kind of expand on that a little bit more, because I thought what was fascinating about me taking on that role of the leader of this global sales team is that sometimes we're put in opportunities or positions that we may not feel we're ready for, but I'm using or God or higher power, whoever we'll call it, knows you're ready, that you deserve to step into. And so when I was asked to serve in the capacity, if you asked me probably back then, I probably would have ran screaming and probably like, no, I don't think I'm a good fit for this. And we've heard the phrase, and we plan and God laughs, right? But I realized what he saw more in me than I saw in myself in many ways, right? And knew I had the capacity. And oftentimes we are just looking for somebody who's going to believe in us enough to say, hey, look, you already have the tools. You already have the capacity. You already have the extra X factor. You just need a vehicle to showcase that many times. And that vehicle came up probably more than I probably was ready for. And lo and behold, fast forward several years later, the team was very successful. We were able to generate, multiple 7 figures and touch hundreds of lives in the process. And I grew as a leader. And I, now that I've left our role a few months ago, I got many great friends from that experience. So what I can share with your listeners is that sometimes we want to step out on faith. And even when you got to borrow someone else's faith, you never know what it may turn into in some ways.
And that is the truth. I often share my story. I was a teacher for over 30 years and went to the principal and just one day said, well, I'm going to say, let me back up. First of all, when she first asked me, was I going to retire? I said no, because I was scared. And I realized then, I said, it's right before spring break. But after I came home and I talked to her with Oliver, but it wasn't that. It was when I went and I was alone for 3 days and I fasted and prayed. Once that when I felt that the Lord was with me, nothing could keep me from doing it. It was when it showed me too, the fear. I was afraid. I hadn't planned it. It wasn't like I had all my ducks in a row and I knew everything. None of that was it literally was a step of faith. It truly was. And I was scared. I mean, I was shaking and stepping at the same time. But at the same time, I realized this is what I felt. If I didn't do it, I always felt I would regret it. That's what was in me. It was so strong in me of, you have an opportunity literally of a lifetime. You can, even though it may not be the huge retirement you wanted or whatever the case may be, but you have a chance to do whatever it is you want to do with your life, whatever that may be and whatever that looks like. Right. And to be honest with you, I didn't know what it was. I actually said to the principal, she said, well, Mary, what are you going to do? I'm in the office. She said, what are you going to do? And I said, I don't know. The woman fell back in that chair and threw her Right. And she's looking like, I know this lady is crazy. And she goes, Mary, you have a good job. You have good benefits. Yeah. I mean, she was doing, and I said, I hear what you're saying, but I'm retiring at the end of the school year. And the truth was, everything she was saying, I was thinking, don't you think I know this? I know.
Right.
But I took that. No, I'll be honest, Bert. I had not written one word. Not a word. I would not write for 5 years. Think about this. I didn't even know I could. I didn't even know that was even an option. But now, as I look back, it's like the Lord said, "Do you trust me?
Right.
You say you trust me. You profess you trust me, but do you really trust me?" And on that, I was shaking and going. I'm laughing. It's not really, but I'm laughing because that's how I felt.
Yeah.
I felt scared, even though my husband was there. It's not. This is. We both have our own careers.
Yes.
And he was so supportive of whatever my decision was. So I appreciate that, but it was still scary. I'm not.
Well, I think we need to be open and honest to say that obedience is not always convenient.
No.
And obedience does not always feel comfortable, right? And oftentimes obedience really just taking the first step. We've heard the phrase, take the first step without seeing the entire staircase, right? And so in your particular example, your first step to obedience was to notify that you were going to retire more than anything else, right? And that's all you knew. You just knew you needed to say you're going to retire, right? And so when I think about my particular story, I've had many times where I realized that just saying yes was the first step of obedience. Because there's a phrase I like to say that you never know the ripple effect of your yes or your no, right? You've written many books yourself as well. I've written a book as well. And sometimes your yes has a ripple effect that you can't foresee, maybe till years later, or maybe the next day. You never can tell whether or not, right? And so, but obedience is never convenient. Rarely is obedience convenient. As I say that, I'm preaching to myself at the same time. So I'm not just telling to your audience, but obedience is rarely convenient, especially if you can sense that you are now walking to a new divine assignment. You know what I'm saying? And that new divine assignment could look very different what you've been doing for the past decades or years. You know what I'm saying? And so in that process, I understand completely come from Mary, like, yeah, it's more than a notion.
It is. And I tell, and this is what I often take, because I teach now about, writing books and everything. And I always tell everyone, do not follow my lead. I felt led to do that. I always tell people, keep your jobs, because if I did not know in my heart, in my very being that God was with me, I couldn't have done it. Because there was a sense of fear. There was, when my principal said, you need to stay for 5 more years. You think I didn't hear that? I heard that because I said, oh, maybe she's right. A part of me wanted to go with that. But then I knew if I said, you say yes to this, you cannot say yes to whatever it is out there. I couldn't do both. That's what I did for me. And some people can. I'll be the first to admit, some people can do both. I'm not one of those people. I'm one of those people. I need to know. I need to be focused on whatever it is I'm focused on. You have me going too many directions and I can't get anything done. I look back, but it was, I wouldn't trade anything for it now. Even though now I do see, I write now. Now I'm writing movies. Who would have? No one on the planet could have told me I'd be writing movies. I wouldn't have believed it anyway. I would have been like, who are you talking about? So it really has shown me you do not, but I'm not telling you, but having faith does not mean it's going to be easy. That's what I tell you.
Yes.
And that's what you're saying too. That's the first step, but that doesn't mean it's going to be an easy road.
Right. Yes.
But I
be foolish. Some people assume taking a decision is based on faith and really just being foolish. Now, how do you tell the difference? I don't know. I can't tell you the magic sauce. I wish I could tell your audience there's a magic formula to how to figure out how you know you're being faithful, how you're being foolish. but what I tell people is if you're a person who really has been kind of in your faith walk, um, you can compare the facts and you can compare your faith and put the two together and make what you think is the best educated decision. And if you go eyes wide open, realizing that it's not a lottery ticket, I use that analogy, right? That saying yes to whatever you think you're going to say yes to is an automatic lottery ticket, then you're more apt to understand the journey. And so here's a good analogy. People go to the gym, right? Every year, first of the year, people get excited. They make New Year's resolutions. They're like, oh, I'm going to get my six-pack ab in 6 weeks, whatever, right? And then they go in thinking it's an overnight success, right? Because they underestimate the work it takes for the goal they want to achieve. So I think the same thing needs to apply to people in their lives, depending on what they're doing. Don't sign up for the workout and you'll get the result. Like sign up for the bicep curls, the crunches, the squats, the treadmill running, the nutrition. Sign up for that as part of your journey to your destination. They were saying, and you realize that it gives you a greater reality check than it being just a lottery ticket to what you accomplished. I didn't even go down a rabbit trail there, Mary, but kind of
no, you're right. Well, the bottom line is it isn't overnight. I didn't know, like I said, I literally went on a search. After I retired, I was painting, I was gardening, I was never, and when writing came, it came through a friend that told me the story. And I wrote the story down and read it to one of my grandchildren the next day, and she laughed. And when I told her these were my words, she looked at me. Her name is Nasir. She goes, Nana, can you write a story about me? Now think about it. I only wrote the day before I read this story, but I didn't even hesitate. I said, yes, I can write a story about you. I've been writing ever since. That one thing. But I think I was so open to whatever. It's like, Lord, because I'm at the door to trying to get out of the office of the principal. And she stands up and she goes, Mary, what if you do all of this and you find nothing? That lady doesn't even know. She affected my life. I didn't even hesitate. I turned, I said, Christine, we only have so long on this planet.
Right.
We don't get to stay forever.
Yes.
And if it's something else that God needs for me to do, I need to find out what it is.
Right.
That was it. It was real simple. And then I told her too, I said, at least I will know.
Yeah.
I can go because I'm going to go to that graveyard one way or the other. But at least I will go knowing I tried, knowing whatever it is, I was looking for it. And it was like, as I said before, writing was looking for me, but I didn't know it. That's what it was.
Yeah. I often say that the biggest regret, I'm never taking it back. The biggest risk we take in life is the risk of regret.
Yeah.
It's the shoulda, coulda, wouldas, right? That we wish we had done. Now, I understand, like we're socialized to always choose a safe route. And it's if you ever watch little kids, I know you have kids. I don't currently have kids, but we watch. They're tenacious about what they desire, and they don't care about the path to their goal. Right? You know what I'm saying? I remember when I was a kid. If I asked mom and mom said no, I'm gonna ask dad. Now generally they tag team up, right? They already kind of knew what was coming. But sometimes I can catch them in a gap, and dad may say yes, or the mom said no, and they hadn't talked yet, right? You know what I'm saying? Or maybe I wanted a toy and I realized if I did this, I can get the toy one, right? So I think the same thing is if we can keep that almost like that childlike spirit of curiosity to whatever goal we want to accomplish. And if nothing else, kids, what I love about little kids, they will easily shake off a failure. It doesn't even occur to them. I mean, you can watch, I used to be a school teacher years ago. So funny, I was a teacher years ago. I used to taught elementary school. And I would literally see kids in my class that before recess could have a little tip, whatever that meant, whatever, right? I don't know what that meant. They were arguing about something. Go to recess, come back, and they're best friends. I'm like, but that morning you hate each other, guts, right? You know what I'm saying, but kids have that level of of short-term memory when it comes to ill. You know what I'm saying? To ill will, right? So I think as adults, we forget the value prop of almost releasing it so we can move on to the next thing, right? So
Yeah, it's true too, because after having taught for years and to see kids do that, it's I would tell parents, I said they may hate each other today, but they're gonna love each other tomorrow. And I saw it happen so many times and almost like they have to get it out of their system, and then they're okay once they get that whatever that was out. I don't know if it was jealousy, envy, I don't know, but then they're okay after that. So you're absolutely right.
Yeah.
When you're talking about the parents, my parents, let me tell you what they said. Whoever you ask, whatever they said, that's it. That's how they got around that, because they had 5 kids and they didn't have time for those games we was playing. They said whoever you ask first, whatever they said, don't even think about going to the other one. So you have to think about who you can get who was going to do the best. I did. I'd be like, okay, is Dad going to give me the best? Anyway. But that's how you do have to think like that as a child, though. You sure do. To make it work for you. Well, let me ask you this, Bert. What has been your, because you have a wealth of knowledge. What's your favorite thing that you love to do or love to work on, projects, that kind of thing?
Man, there's a lot. I love working on projects where I get to teach and educate people, or bring people together. Right. Recently we had a barbecue on behalf of one of my alumni groups I'm part of, right, which I saw you there recently as well. So I love that level of coordination and the networking and the fellowship as well. It really does energize me, which is funny. So, in full transparency, I have very strong introvert tendencies. I just play extrovert on TV. Yeah, I do. I legitimately have.
You fool me.
Very strong introvert tendencies. Being in sales, being a leader. I know that people are surprised when they hear that. It's because introversion does not mean you're antisocial. It just means how you process people's energy, whatever, right? And so I know how to flip the switch when I need to, right? And so. I love good people. We're around good people, having good conversations. I really enjoy that. It's probably one of my biggest projects. And I love when I have a chance to really teach and educate people about certain things, whether it's in sales, whether it's about entrepreneurship, whether it's about finances as well. Because I love seeing the light bulb come on. I'm still a teacher at heart. Like I mentioned before, I'm a former school teacher, so I still love seeing people's discovery process on that awareness, that awakening that comes up in many ways, because it's phenomenal to see it, right? As a former teacher, when a student finally wakes up and gets it, it's why we do it, right? We do it because we love to see the awakening process, the discovery process. And so that's probably my biggest projects I love to get involved with. And just personally, I just like trying to get better. That's my third major project. How can I get better as a human being on this planet? How do I get better to better serve others? It's probably my third project. Yeah.
All right. Because I know you said we have, before I get going again, we have comments from our audience. So let me, we have here, Charles says, since you are both entrepreneurs, I would like to invite you to attend our Entrepreneurs Toastmaster meeting. All right. Thank you, Charles. We meet the first and third Wednesday at 7 a.m. Your birthday is the 12th. So it's this Wednesday. It's no, wait.
No, his birthday was Saturday. Charles' birthday was Saturday.
Got it. Sorry. Your birthday was the 12th. So happy belated birthday, Charles. And so the first and third Wednesday, is that what it is?
I think so. Yeah, tell us where, Charles. I don't know where that meeting is at, but.
So where's the meeting, Charles? Go on and put it in the chat. And I'm sitting up here going, I can tell you this. I will try and attend this site. Is this the third Wednesday coming? This Wednesday? I think it is. I'm not looking at the calendar.
I don't know. Well, I'll have to figure it out.
It is.
The chat, Charles. This is the third Wednesday.
It is. I'm looking at a calendar. It is the third Wednesday, this Thursday. This Wednesday. So put it in the chat. And as far as I can see right now, I can attend, Charles. I know it's hard to believe, huh? I can, but I can attend. So put in the chat. But I'm listening to you because I know it sounds to me like motivate or seeing people. Um, you're a people person. You may
Yeah.
be, like I said, introvert, but you really like people
Yeah.
and getting them, moving them in a positive direction and going forward in a positive direction. And I tell you, maybe that's why we know each other, Bert. Maybe that's.
I'm a connector, right? If you ever read the book by Malcolm Gladwell, The Tipping Point, there are different type of individuals he references in the book, and one of them is a connector, right? So I love connecting with people on a probably a little more deeper level than just superficial, right? It's ironic. So I have a Facebook profile. Been on Facebook probably for 13, 14, 15 years, right? And given the amount of time I've been on social media, my social media quote unquote friends list is way lower than people have been on for less of half the time. Because for me, I want to, if I have a social media connection, I want to know I have a real world connection at the same time, right? So I don't want just to have a social media connection and not have a real world connection. Sometimes it can be avoided, but oftentimes not. I prefer to know that my Facebook friends list, I can probably make a personal phone call in the real world. You know what I'm saying? And
That's
so,
good. I
um,
can't do that.
yeah, so I really curate my list. Now, some people can have 10,000 people on the list for different reasons. Now, there are pros and cons to either side, but I like having more quality relationships than more quantity. Because I believe, at least for me personally, that has a greater multiplying effect than having a lot of people I already know, right? And so I think one of the strengths of most introverts is that we tend to go a little deeper in relationships that matter to us, right? We're not going to just have superficial conversations, which is why most introverts generally don't have a lot of really close friends. They have friends, but really close ones are kind of far and few. Probably less than five, three, four, or five, at best case scenario, right? And so, but they may know a lot of people. A lot of people may know them, but very few really close friends. So I am a people person, but I also like have a high quality conversation with people as well there too. So yeah.
And I think that's what I would say. A lot of people know me. I know a lot of people, but that intimate circle that's really right near you is very small for me.
Yeah.
Really is. People would. I've heard people say, "Oh, everybody knows you." I'm just sitting up here going, you know, because they know of you,
Right.
and
Right.
they only really know the you that you project.
Right. Right.
This is why not it's kind of on the same vein. I tell people when they're dating, you send out your representative.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. You do. You do.
And then I tell them, I said, because I'm sure you've heard this too. People get married and all of a sudden they break up because now the real person has shown up.
Right.
And you can only be that fake person for so long. You can't.
Right.
You cannot live there. I would tell people, I don't. Yeah. So be who you are to begin with.
Right.
That's
right.
Don't try and be somebody you're not.
Right.
Just tell the truth. Be who you are. Be upfront. Be all those things, because either they're gonna like you or they're not. But now you don't have to, fake it.
Right. Yeah.
Because I've heard people say, "Oh, they used to do all this for me." They used to. That's what they're saying. They wanted to get you,
Right. Right.
And then now they don't do those things. And I'm like, I remember when Oliver would open the door for me with the car, and I said, "Don't start something you don't plan on." I did. He'll tell you. Out to this day, he still opens the car door for me. He still does all the things, but that means that was in him anyway.
Right. Yeah. It's so true. Yeah. So the representative conversation is so fascinating because I think we fall in love. I use that word in air quotes, right? With that representative, not realizing that that's not the real person oftentimes, right? And so whether it's in love, whether it's in friendship, whether it's in business, you want to get the most authentic version of them. So imagine a world where people really were able to really be their most authentic self. You know what I'm saying? Can you imagine how the
No,
world
I
live.
cannot.
Um, you know, so you've probably heard of Arthur Ray Dalio, right? What's the book Principles?
Uh-huh.
And Ray Dalio in the book Principles talks about at Bridgewater they have a rule of honesty within the culture, a culture of honesty, with right? But it's not done to be mean. It's done to make sure we always are moving in our authentic voice, right? I'm saying, and in an authentic space of being able to have a different. Because you're talking about Bridgewater is a hedge fund. They manage people's money, with all right? So you can't afford to have inauthentic people managing money because now billions of dollars could be lost with all right. And but he developed a culture at the company where people understand that honesty, almost brutal honesty, is part of the culture, right?
Right.
And I thought about that for us in our personal lives. Imagine if we were that honest with everybody we thought, right? Could we really handle that?
You can do that. I'm listening to you going, I don't think that's gonna work in this society.
Right.
Only no, the reason being because I'm gonna speak for me. I think you would not only you would hurt people's feelings, but then what they would do is attack you and try and hurt you. It's like, well, if that's what you really think about me, well, let me tell you what I really think about you. It becomes a tit for tat thing, and then where are we? I don't know. I just don't know how that will work.
Because I think we assume candor or being candid with being cruel. I think the question is, can we be compassionately candid with each other versus being cruel, being candidly cruel? You know what I'm saying? And I know it's a dance, right? Think about it. Like say as parents, right? If you ever had to discipline your child and tell them the truth what they did wrong, sometimes more often than not, the discipline the issue is done with some level of compassion. You don't feel good about it, but you realize it's for the overall growth, right? So when I look at that, I say, what if we had the same heart space we were giving feedback? As leaders, right? As a leader of a team, as a leader in different situations, I've had to give feedback that was candid, but I had to do it in a space of compassion, right? And if we can maintain the compassion in how candid we are, I think we can probably get around it. What makes it hard is that people disguise being candid as being mean. No, let me take this back.
Yeah.
Disguise being mean as being candid, right? And so they want to use their candidness just to be mean on purpose, which is not the goal.
Right.
So yeah,
I hear what you're saying. I just don't know if that can work, because I think it would take so much to really hear what they're saying without being offended by what they're saying. And that's what I think the issue is. It's not that you can't say it, but it's the saying goes, it's not what you say, but how you say it.
right.
Because it's your tone, it's your body language, it's your eyes, it's all of that's in everything we say. It's all a part of it. So if you can bring that with compassion,
right,
I think it can work. But when you bring it with any inkling of, I don't like what you said to me this morning, so I'm gonna tell you what I think about you. All of that stuff, any of that in there, and it cannot work.
Right. Yeah.
But if it's with basically just saying with love, basically,
right,
then yes, I agree it can work. And I remember one of our sons one day. This is years ago. I had to discipline him, but I remember I went back and hugged him. Do you know he talks about that to this day? And I remember I went back because I can't remember what it was he did, and I just hugged him, and I said, I just hated that I had to spank him or something like that. But I think it was because I didn't want to. That's what it was. But I said, this was what you mentioned is so true. It was for his own good.
Right. Yeah.
My own father telling me, I'm doing this for you, or I don't want to do this, but I'm doing this because I have to do this because I'm your father. All this kind of stuff. And I'm like, no, you don't.
Right.
You don't have to give me no whipping. But I look back now; those have, without a doubt, made me who I am today.
Right.
All that stuff you don't want to go through, but I'm listening to you because like you said about being candor and. I just don't know if our society is ready for that. That's what I'm saying up here. I'm listening to you go, I don't know. Oh, Charles, did you put in where it is? Because we definitely are interested. And this is Elaine. Elaine says, "Hello, Mary and Bert. I am loving the gems being shared by both of you. The power of words affects ourselves. It does affects ourselves and others. As a retired educator, I'm still doing my passion of being a servant." Elaine, I'm trying to get you on the show. I've been trying to get you on the show. Elaine is when I tell she's more than doing her service to our community. This lady makes sure our babies get thousands of dollars in scholarships to go to college. I mean, I just want to thank you, Elaine, because as I said, I've told you many times I want you on the show because you are doing so much for so many people, and thank you just doesn't seem big enough for everything that you do. But thank you for all that you do. I don't know if you know Elaine, Bert.
I don't know. We might have crossed paths. Maybe we have. I don't think so, but
Yeah, but you may. I think you guys would. I hope you do. I hope you do cross paths for sure.
yes.
You may know her because she's a Greek. She's a Greek.
Possibly.
Um,
Possibly.
I
Yeah.
think it's Sigma Gamma Rho. I think. Correct me, Elaine. I don't know, but I just know she's Greek. But
Awesome.
yeah, for sure. But I'm listening to this conversation, going, "Wow!" If you said if everybody showed up of who they really are, I don't know if people can take it. I just don't know. I tell
Yeah, and it just starts with us individually, how we show up. Impacts how others show up as well. Oftentimes, I think people are looking for permission to show up the way they really want to show up. Um, I'll say this while I try and get into down a rabbit trail, which I would go down really easily. Let me just say the current atmosphere in our country. I'll leave it at that. You can
okay.
imagine.
I get it.
When one person decided to show a part of who they are, it gave others permission to show who they are.
That's
Right?
right.
You know what I'm saying? And so we see it on the macro, the big stage, what happens when somebody shows up in a certain way that maybe it's really who they are or not. I don't know, not my place to judge.
Right.
However, that visualization or the visual, portrayal of what they feel is an authentic version of who they are, gave a lot of people the permission to be that, right? So my question to you, what is the counter to that, right?
Right.
Who is providing permission to be the most authentic version of themselves on a large scale that counters that narrative, right? Because I believe there are more good people that
Right.
want to fully express their authentic selves than those that express the other side. It's so unfortunately the negative side tends to be louder than the positive side, unfortunately, right? And I still believe there are more positive people in the world than negative people in the world. Yet I think positive people still need, right or wrong, permission to be positive out loud. You know what I'm saying?
I agree, and I think that I've often said this that what happened with the negative people, now they have a leader.
Right.
That was the one thing that was missing from the entire. It was all. Let me just say this: it was always there.
Yes.
It was never not there. I would tell you that. And but when there's no leader, there wasn't anyone to get behind to really,
Right.
and that's what was missing. And I agree 1,000% that there are definitely more positive people that want to see positivity than there are negative.
Right.
But what you said, which is so true, the negative a narrative tends to be louder.
Right.
And unfortunately, sometimes we think when things are louder, they're right.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's unfortunate. But I agree with you because I've said the same things. Well, I just wanted to let you know we are down. We only have a few minutes left with the show, but I wanted to make sure if you have any thoughts that you want to share before we have to get off.
In my final thoughts here, once again, thank you, Mary, for allowing me the chance to be on your show. It's a blessing, an opportunity. So I'm glad. Hopefully, your audience got some words of encouragement, some gems as well in this conversation. If I would leave your audience with anything else, I would say just choose the life you want to live and realize that it truly is in powers that are in your hand, right? And that your mind is the biggest machine to manifest the life you desire as well. And I've said it before earlier in the call that, obedience is not convenient, but the biggest risk you take is the risk of regret. So what do you regret? What could you regret not taking action on that will take yourself down the road? So I'll say this: if you can look forward 10 years from now and have a conversation with your future self, will your future self thank you for the decision you made today?
That's big. It's funny. I'm listening to you and I'm like, because I've said this before on the show, I struggle with screenwriting. So what I do, I go back to writing children's books because I know I can do that. I have to force myself to go back into that arena because I love writing it, but I'm struggling. And I'm like, because it's new to me, I'm still understanding the nuances. I'm studying, I'm reading scripts. So I'm like, I'm listening to you going, but then what you just said is huge. If I were to, let's say I said, okay, I'm not going to do the screenwriting. 10 years from now, will I regret that?
Right.
Will I look back and say, did you ever really give that a chance?
Mm-hmm.
And I don't want that. I've got to give it a chance. If nothing but see it through, nothing but be able to say to myself, not to anybody else, I saw it through. Just like when I did the retirement,
right.
I can rest with that. But I want, what was this, what you said about regret? That's the biggest.
Regret is the biggest risk you will ever take.
That is huge.
Yeah.
I like that. I need to put that on put that on my social media somewhere because it is. And people, we do it every day. Every day and don't take that step because we are, and the number one reason I think is fear and we're afraid of what people are going to say.
For the last few minutes here, if I could, so someone shared this story with me and it really hit home. So maybe it kind of put a little bow on my conversation about regret, right? And I'm very transparent. I'm in the same journey. I'm in a career transition in my life, right? So I'm making some shifts in my life professionally. And so this is very raw and uncut always. But someone shared a story with me that I thought was really impactful. So imagine you've transitioned, you've passed on, you know what I'm saying? And you're at the pearly gates and you're about to be judged whether to be lit in or not. But imagine if the reason you don't get lit in because you never used the genius in you in your life.
Wow.
That's the reason why you don't get to go into the higher space, right? So imagine if things are replacing you to be put onto this planet you never used because out of fear, judgment, whatever it is, whatever excuse you want to create for yourself. Imagine if you never use those tools and you sit at the pearly gates and they're about to pass judgment whether you go up or go down, and you don't get to go up because you never use your skills, the gifts that are placed in you.
No, I don't want that to be my scenario. But I believe it's fear. I think it's fear. Mine was, I was afraid, but I was more afraid not to take the step. That's where the difference I think changed for me. I was more afraid. I said, just think if something happens to you and you never found out that you could, now that I could write, what if I would never have gotten to writing screenplays had I never started to begin with.
Right.
So it's really been a journey for me. So and I would tell anybody, don't be afraid not to. That's what I would do. Be afraid not to take those steps. Don't be afraid to take it, because I looked at it like this. I can always go back into teaching. I can always do that. And I'll be honest with you, ladies and gentlemen, I'm enjoying this conversation, but what happens, the system will cut us off. We're down to 1 minute. But Bert, I want to thank you for being a guest here. And Elaine said, she said, Mary, my Jennifer and your sons know we discipline them for their own good. And as adults, they truly realize it. You're right, Elaine. And then Elaine says, oh, Mary, I will definitely come on your podcast this year. Okay. Hi again, Bert. I think we may have met at the Greek event 57 years in the, G-Row. And I still love volunteering. Ladies and gentlemen, we are right on time. Thank you for being here. God bless you. I'll see you next Monday. Bye, everybody.